Overall, I think patients with early HER2-positive breast cancer are really doing very well with the regimens that we have right now. The preoperative approach is very attractive because you have this surrogate marker of outcome with the response to the preoperative treatment. The question, I think, for HER2-positive breast cancer, well, is really twofold. There are patients that don't get a pathologic complete response. What do you do with those patients? Obviously, they have cancers that may be somewhat resistant. We now have very exciting results from the Catherine study showing that trastuzumab DM1 can markedly improve outcome for those patients. But even with that, there may be patients that still have recurrences, and there are a number of new agents coming down the pipeline. Most of them are antibody-based, immune therapy-based regimens that I think will be very excited going forward. They're all being evaluated in the metastatic setting, but they may end up being translated into the early stage setting for selected patients. One of the other big questions for early stage HER2-positive breast cancer is, can we further de-escalate therapy for patients? So we already know for patients with stage 1 breast cancer that's HER2 positive that you can treat them with the APT regimen, which is essentially 12 weeks of paclitaxel with trastuzumab. The bigger question is, are there a group of patients who maybe don't need chemotherapy at all? And the most likely candidates would be patients with HER2 positive, hormone receptor positive breast cancer, where potentially we may be able to omit chemotherapy and just give them endocrine therapy with HER2-directed therapy. The trials that have looked at this previously, mainly in the preoperative setting, haven't shown definitively a group of patients where we can omit chemotherapy, but I do think this is a very important research question going over. As we talked about earlier, there is a subset of these hormone receptor positive, HER2-positive breast cancers that are actually luminal A cancers, and if we could delineate which patients have those cancers, they may be better treated with endocrine therapy and HER2-directed therapy versus chemotherapy, because there is substantial crosstalk between the ER and HER2 pathways, which it may be more important to block those pathways rather than give chemotherapy. But currently, there really is no group of patients right now who we would omit chemotherapy from, apart from patients who have very small HER2-positive cancers. So T1A cancers, for example, most of those patients we generally do not give chemotherapy and HER2-directed therapy to, but there may be other groups of patients where we can omit chemotherapy as well. So I think very important research question that we'll evaluate going forward.